Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. Today's interview is just some inspiration for you to get up and go for a hike. It's with photographer Brian Kelley, who helped put together a new book titled Parks 2. If you couldn't guess from the title, it's a sequel, a coffee table book that's all about national parks and the iconography and the design that goes into the maps and brochures and pamphlets you can find there. And he talks to NPR's Sarah McCammon about how the book is really an argument for trying new things, whether that's a hike in a new place or just a new hobby like nature photography. That's coming up.
This message comes from BetterHelp. Every January brings you 365 blank pages waiting to be filled. What do you want your 2025 story to be? Therapy can help you craft the next chapters with purpose. BetterHelp offers therapy 100% online with a diverse network of over 30,000 therapists worldwide. Visit BetterHelp, HELP.com/NPR today to get 10% off your first month.
Art Meets National Parks. A new book, Parks 2, by the indie bookmaker Standards Manual, is a celebration of America's national parks and the iconic designs that went into over 300 national park maps, brochures, and other materials over more than 100 years. The volume also includes essays by fans of the parks, including photographer Brian Kelley, who joins me now to talk about this project. Hey, Brian, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You are the collector behind this book, Parks 2. Just first of all, tell us how this project got started. How did you conceive of it?
Back in 2017, I had just completed my first book with Standards Manual, which was a collection of New York City Transit Authority maps, brochures, just general ephemera. At the time, I had just been starting to travel around to a lot of the national parks in the United States and started collecting those maps. And then about a year and a half later, we were able to put together Parks 1. Basically, that kind of took off. And after Parks 1, I still have probably about 1,200 of these maps. And so we just figured might as well try to do Parks 2 and keep it going.
I think a lot of us who've been to a national park might have collected, a map or a flyer or a brochure with those classic photos of mountains and landscapes. I think a lot of people end up throwing those in the trash. What made you start collecting them?
Well, I think it was like holding on to one at a time. And so if you just have one map, it doesn't feel as significant. You might hold a memory, but then when you start getting this massive collection of them, it feels more like an archive. I feel as though a lot of these maps, especially from the early 1900s all the way up to 1965, unless you were visiting these parks then, you weren't seeing these amazing designs that are just more or less non-existent in the landscape. So I really wanted to find a way to bring all these to life and let people kind of go down memory lane if they did experience them back in the day.
And a big feature of this book is not just, the photos of these natural places, but also the design of some of these pieces of memorabilia. That blocky font a lot of people have probably seen on national park brochures. What is it about the design that you find compelling?
Well, I feel as though with the design aspect of these maps, you go from, really traditional romantic typefaces and the black and white photography, all the way up to Ansel Adams. And then you have the introduction, I think, of advancements in design within the design community as far as the design technology. And so you had this moment in the 60s where people were able to really start experimenting with new technologies, and you can see that transition happen within these maps when you start to look through them all.
Do you have a favorite place? The national park system is so vast, but as you think about everything in this collection, is there a place that's most important to you?
Yeah, I talk about it in my essay for the book where it's probably Olympic National Park. That was the first time I had ever seen big trees in my life, and that was just something that I think kind of blew my mind. It allows you to have a pullback moment of like, I'm looking and I'm standing next to this 800 to 2,000-year-old tree, and like you can't even comprehend it.
Now, these essays are another big feature of this book, sprinkled in with all of these photos of landscapes and of memorabilia that we mentioned. How did you decide who to include in this book?
It was people that I knew made a career out of the outdoors and were incredibly passionate about it, and people that I think could also like help inspire others to take interest and try to go on an adventure or try a new hobby, whether it was rock climbing or photography.
Now, Brian, before I let you go, I have to ask, are there any big trips to national parks that you're planning or excited about?
Hopefully going to be planning a trip up to Adirondack Park. It's not a national park, but I'm hoping to get up there and photograph some of the oldest and largest eastern white pines in the country.
That's Brian Kelley, the photographer behind the new book, Parks 2. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
This message comes from Mint Mobile. From the gas pump to the grocery store, inflation is everywhere. So Mint Mobile is offering premium wireless starting at just $15 a month. To get your new phone plan for just $15, go to mintmobile.com/switch. Support for NPR and the following message come from Boll & Branch. Change your sleep with the softness of Boll & Branch's 100% organic cotton sheets. Feel the difference with 15% off your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com with code NPR. Exclusions apply. See site for details. Support for NPR and the following message come from Rosetta Stone, the perfect app to achieve your language learning goals no matter how busy your schedule gets. It's designed to maximize study time with immersive 10-minute lessons and audio practice for your commute. Plus, tailor your learning plan for specific objectives like travel. Get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off and unlimited access to 25 language courses. Learn more at rosettastone.com/NPR.